Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment as the Tennessee Titans have hired their new offensive coordinator. I kind of predicted that this would happen today. Luckily, it did. The Titans have hired Nick Holz, the former now passing game coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we'll go through his entire resume here in a moment, and a former high school teammate of head coach Brian Callahan. He is now the head coach here in Tennessee. And this is being met with mixed reactions, and I understand why. I'm not stressed about it as of right now, because as of right now, we're anticipating Brian Callahan to come in here and bring his system here. So him bringing in someone that knows the system he wants to bring in here makes a lot of sense. In fact, it almost makes perfect sense. This happens in the NFL all the time. Now, the hope is that the system works. If the system works, this won't be a problem. Nick Holz, he's not a proven play caller yet. He's not going to be calling plays. The most important thing is that he and Brian Callahan are on the same page. And he hired, or maybe Rand Carthon hired, a defensive coordinator who he doesn't have a background with. So I'm 100% fine with Brian Callahan hiring someone who he does have a background with. So these two went to high school together. Brian Callahan was a quarterback of his high school, and Nick Holz was a wide receiver. And also Maurice Jones-Drew was a running back. Crazy. Crazy how that works out. No one cool went to my high school except for Quentin Patton and me. So people are slightly concerned about that. And they coached together 1 year in Oakland in 2018. But Nick Holz, you look at his resume, and this is where I'm going to defend him, at least initially here, because this guy sticks around. Okay, so he started as an offensive quality control coach / video intern for Nebraska under Bill Callahan in 2007. Then in 2008 through 2011, he was an offensive assistant quarterback coach for Stanford under Jim Harbaugh for 3 of those years, 2008 through 2010. Then he was elevated to the NFL and was with the Raiders from 2012 through 2021. There was a lot of coaches that ran through Oakland in that time. I can't even name you all of them. I'm sure I'm going to forget one, but you had like Dennis Allen, you had Jack Del Rio, you had John Gruden, and I think that's it. Maybe there's Hugh Jackson. I think even Hugh Jackson probably ran through there in that period of time in 2010. So the fact that he was able to be retained is interesting. And, again, various roles here. So offensive assistant 2012 to 2014. Quality control coach 2015 and 16. Assistant wide receiver coach 2017. And then offensive quality control coach again 2018 through 2020. Then assistant wide receiver coach in 2021. Then he went to UNLV where he was offensive coordinator. So this is his only stint as offensive coordinator. They went 5-11 that year. Their run game was good. Their pass game really wasn't. But it's UNLV, so it's hard to really assess, because they're UNLV, they can't get talent. Not in this day and age. Maybe 10 plus years ago, maybe. They've had some good years in their past. I know that, but not really in my lifetime. So I'm not going to blame him for that 1 year. Then he got elevated to the NFL again. He was pass coordinator for the Jaguars this year. Now, was the pass game great for the Jaguars this year? No, it was a disappointment. How much of that was on him? How much was on offensive coordinator Press Taylor, who people thought was going to be a head coaching candidate? All of a sudden, he's absolutely not, and he's going to have to work his way back up to being so again. By the way, that's why I always give caution to the wind whenever you're talking about these one-year offensive coordinators. Look out for your boy Bobby Slowick. It happens, okay? They can have one great year, second year, people get used to their schemes, and then they fall off the map like Press Taylor this year. And not that it was awful. It was just certainly a disappointment. Trevor Lawrence should have definitely taken a step forward this year. He didn't. And just overall, the receivers, Ridley, statistically, you might look at him and be like, oh, he was fine. They were not happy with Calvin Ridley, particularly by the end of the year. Christian Kirk was hurt. And look, I always thought the wide receivers were a bit overrated. I mean, there wasn't one wide receiver on there that I was afraid of anyway, but people are acting like that. Marvin Harrison Jr. before the year. So it's slightly underwhelmed, and then Evan Ingram was able to do some things, but it wasn't quite good enough. So him being elevated now to offensive coordinator is because he knows Brian Callahan. He wasn't going to get an offensive coordinator position elsewhere. But again, because him and Brian Callahan, I presume, are going to be on the same verbiage, are going to be in the same philosophy, are going to be in tune. And Brian Callahan is the offensive head coach, and he is the play caller. Did we need a strong offensive coordinator? No. Now, I still think we need to get a strong assistant head coach in here, someone that has experience, because now you're talking about elevating Denard Wilson. You're talking about elevating Nick Holz. You're talking about elevating Brian Callahan. Okay, who has head coaching experience here? Okay, and you don't have to have head coach experience, but we need to have someone that has at least assistant head coach experience or a longtime coordinator. Even like when we had Jim Haslett. Remember we had Jim Haslett a couple years ago as our inside linebacker coach, former head coach, longtime coach. Bringing in someone like that. Bringing in someone like a Jim Schwartz. You can't get him now, but someone like that who has been a head coach, maybe fallen off a little bit, but can help guide this a little bit, because I just want more guys in the room that have experience. So he probably can't do it because Eric Studesville, he would have, been a potential offensive coordinator here, and they didn't go with him. And it would be a lateral move, and I don't think the Dolphins are going to allow that. But someone like Eric Studesville, who's been a long-time coach, 20 years, and can come here and do a good job. I know Ty Tolbert has been a wide receiver coach for 20 years. Not good enough for me. I need someone a little bit more experienced and more impactful than that. And Brian can look, again, he's been in his, and by the way, also, I'm also forgetting when I say that, Bill Callahan's here. Duh. Literally forgot that. So, yes, we have Brian Callahan, so he can be that. But Brian Callahan is old. I think we're only going to have him for like 4 or 5 years, and maybe by then Brian Callahan will be fine. Bill Callahan is old. I'm going to say Bill Callahan sometimes. I'm going to say Brian Callahan. I got to get used to that. So I think Bill Callahan here is good, and that's the experience. I'd like another guy, though. I like one more guy next to Bill Callahan, because while I'm fine with them being father-son, they are father-son. So I need someone else who can tell the Callahans what they need to know. Okay, that way they're not a little too buddy-buddy, and I know they'll keep it professional, but still, someone else to come in and be an assistant head coach or someone with a lot of experience would be nice as well. And I think they'll do that. I'm not concerned about that. I'm just saying that's something else that I'd like to see. So, make no doubt about it, Nick Holz, he's not ready to be like a head coach or anything at a time. So if we do well, and he's not going to get hired for 3 years. Like, he's 3 years away. Like, Brian Callahan, remember, he was a first-time offensive coordinator for Zach Taylor. That's what you'd be looking at. It took Brian Callahan 5 years. It's probably going to take Nick Holz 3, 4, 5 years. So the good thing is, if it works out, he's going to be here for a while because he ain't ready. So as long as they work together well and they have a similar, because it's a very similar setup to Zach Taylor and Brian Callahan. Now it's Brian Callahan and Nick Holz. So it worked for the Bengals, and the hope is that it works out for us. So I'm not tripping about it. I know some people are. Look, again, these coaches, they're going to hire a lot of people that they know. Look, he got Bill Callahan and he got Nick Holz. And Denard Wilson, in my opinion, and I can't prove this, but there was no link between him and Denard Wilson. No link whatsoever. I think that was a Carthon hire. So now Brian Callahan is getting some of his boys. It's going to happen. And then let's see who else we get. Who's going to be our new running backs coach? Who's going to be our new tight end? Who's going to be all these other position groups need to be filled. But because, again, he's not calling plays, and it's still Callahan's offense, and now he has someone that will understand that offense, I'm not tripping. I think it's good as long as Callahan knows what he's doing. And that will be proven quicker than not. And it will be on his head if Nick Holz is unable to perform. And by the way, I did talk about the Bill Callahan hire last night. I went live last night, and that news dropped literally at the 22-minute mark of that video. To touch on that again here, it's a great hire. He's a great offensive line coach. Last 4 years has been brilliant for the Cleveland Browns. He's going to come in here and write some things for us. Again, one of my problems with Vrabel and Keith Carter and Jason Tailing, you can complain to me that we're not drafting, although we have, offensive lineman in the first round, which again we have. Isaiah Wilson was just a clown, and then Peter Scarnson we moved to guard. Well, GG, what are you gonna do? But you didn't develop anybody. You didn't develop, Dylan Radins. You didn't really develop. He was a rookie, but Jalen Duncan. You didn't develop any of the guys you could have developed. Corey Levin. You didn't really, Aaron Brewer, I guess you kind of developed him to what he was. Nate Davis, you developed him and then you let him go. Jack Conklin, you developed him and you let him go. So we need better offensive line coach that can develop some of these later round picks. Yes, it's hard to find a premier left tackle that is drafted later in the draft. There's only 3, 4, 5, 6 of them in the NFL. But there's a lot of guards, and there's a lot of centers, and a decent amount of right tackles. And we've been unable to do that. So now Brian Callahan can develop some of these guys, something we've not been able to do here in Tennessee up to this point, really under the Mike Vrabel era. So that's something that Bill Callahan should absolutely bring to the fold. So I think you don't have to fall in love with this hire because, again, it's not like he has the most impressive resume. Eric Sudesville had a more impressive resume. But I still think, hey, who's going to be our run game coordinator? Who's going to be our pass game coordinator? There's still a lot of this to fill out. I'm fine with these two working well together, assuming, again, Callahan knows what the hell he's doing. And we're going to find out quicker rather than later. So that's going to do it for me. What are your thoughts on the Titans hiring Nick Holz as their offensive coordinator? Comment down below. I want to know. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, to subscribe. I'm out. See you all later.